But, yeah, I've always resented the when people talk about like they're like this guy's on another level. And I'm like, no.
He's on the same level.
There's a level of proficiency that you get to. To me, I see everybody at that level as essentially the same.
I was not good at recognizing morons. Like, I would tether up to morons quick. Tom is really good at picking out morons. Idiot.
He knows he's saying this, yeah?
Yeah. Why? What am I saying? but like, were you? Because you were like, you came from a different world.
I still don't think he knows he's saying it.
Okay.
So, would you?
So you're saying Tom's good at picking out morons?
He's really good at picking out morons.
Right.
Oh no, I'm not saying that.
And there, you saw the penny drop in perhaps the slowest of all motions.
What a fart.
Yeah.
So a few days ago, we went over the roast of Tom Brady, which was live streamed on Netflix, and it turned out to be a massive success, not only for Netflix, but for comics and other people as well. However, for others, not so much. And included on that list of people that didn't do so well were some football players, Ben Affleck, and obviously Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, which, funny enough, they did just upload an episode of Two Bears, One Cave. And surprisingly, it wasn't a banked episode. They recorded it right after the roast, meaning that they did talk about the whole thing on that episode, and they did mention some pretty interesting information that gives us a better idea of who was responsible for the whole thing. So in this video, we'll go through why they chose to do the PowerPoint presentation at a roast, why no one was addressing or making fun of Tom Segura at all the whole night, not even once, and why did they have the worst performance out of everyone, including the football players and the coaches. So let's get started.
Well, we should go to the beginning. So like,
let's talk about our experience with the roast.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we get a call.
Good call, Bert.
We get a call like a month ago, and they say, hey, we're doing this roast of Tom Brady. Would you be interested in doing it? And you go.
I said, yes, we're both in.
And I go, no.
You said, absolutely not.
I go, no.
You were like, there's nothing we can win out of this.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we've never been on roast. We're not roasters or anything. But then they said, we're trying something different where we want you guys to do it together. And even then I was like, you mean like just go to the podium together and roast together? And they were like, no, we want to do like, we're thinking of like trying something that we've never done before.
I think they wanted a Sports Center thing first.
Yeah.
And we were like, nah, I got to give flowers. I gave them to you last night. I'll give them to everyone.
Yeah. Well,
you said no. And you called me and you said, we're not saying yes yet. We're going to have a meeting with Netflix. We're going to talk through with the writers and with the producers. So we got on a thing, and in a 30-minute Zoom call, I spoke zero, which I think everyone will find shocking.
Yeah, that's true.
And you talked the whole time, and you had a million questions of things, angles you liked, angles you wanted to do, things you were cool to do. You liked the multimedia presentation. You liked it being different than everyone else's.
Yeah.
Because you're like, in there, you can't really draw a comparison because it's apples and oranges. So we can succeed on our own or fail on our own.
Yeah. So the way we looked at it was like we were kind of doing like almost like a weekend update thing where like we comment and we have images, which was, I thought, a fun way to do it.
It turned out really fun.
Now, we did say on that last video that there was a chance that maybe Tom didn't want to do the roast, and according to what they're saying, that is what happened. That was the case. Obviously, Bert Kreischer would never turn down an opportunity like that. But what doesn't make that much sense to me is why would Tom not want to do a roast traditionally because of, there's nothing to win and how they're not roasters, but then agree to do something where they have even less of a chance of having success and then nothing to win and everything to lose. Their credibility as, real comics. And although Tom did say that it was Netflix who approached them with the idea of doing something together, it's only an idea. After that, it was Tom who completely took over and had full creative control of the project, had a meeting with Netflix and the writers, wrote a script with their help, and then he's the one that had the idea of doing a PowerPoint presentation, or as they call it, multimedia. And I don't want to be rude, but it does seem like Tom Segura being next to a TV or doing a PowerPoint presentation is as creative as he gets. Or maybe there is a chance that Tom Segura simply doesn't care, because obviously everyone knows that the event is going to be massive, and Tom Segura being in charge of their presentation or whatever, the fact that he didn't go to the rehearsals is insane. It's so wild, but it does explain a lot.
Let's talk about the drama going into it.
Well, yeah. Well, let's talk about this. So then they were like, well, you have to be at the rehearsal Saturday. And I was like, I have a Cincinnati show Saturday, like a big ass show. I can't move it. Well, when can you get here? I'm like, after the show. They're like, well, then you'll miss rehearsal. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. So I zoomed in. I would watch the feed, and then I watched you with a stand-in go through rehearsal, and we had changes in that, changing images. It was, I gotta say, it was very exciting.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Carr.
Oh shit! What did I tell you?
Jimmy Carr and my redneck wife.
What did I tell you?
His joke about me, it looks like the Liver King met the Burger King.
Oh yeah,
and has the liver of Rodney King, got beat up by Martin Luther. Whatever the came into his joke, I was like, God damn it!
Yeah, that was amazing.
My only take back, and if you watch the special, it's super enjoyable. Is I read everyone's jokes as they were doing them because I was reading the prompter. So the whole
you're saying this because you think we don't know that?
Oh
no, we saw it.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Oh no, I was going to inquire as to your reading age when I got here. I think you're really coming along.
I just saw the clip of Bert with Tony doing it, and Bert's going.
Yeah, he looks like he's praying.
Now, it did sound like there was a lot more going on between them that they didn't want to bring up on the podcast, because if you notice the way that Bert Kreischer was talking on that first clip, when he said that they were about to get into some drama that happened going into the show, meaning that it wasn't a smooth process and that there were likely some problems, which makes sense. But then the way that Tom Segura explains it, it almost seems like he's downplaying the whole situation, which, if you're Bert Kreischer, it does make sense that you see it as drama and not just as a small problem. Because, for example, let's say you're Bert Kreischer and you let Tom Segura, your buddy, take full control of the whole project. You do everything that he says. You let him write the script, and he takes all the good jokes for him and only gives you a couple of lines. But then on top of all that, he's the main guy that's supposed to be the leader and the one in charge of the whole thing. And then you find out that he won't be able to make it to the rehearsal. That is insane, because not only was Tom Segura fully in charge of everything and even had a meeting with Netflix and the writers, so he should have known that he wasn't going to be able to make it to rehearsals and tell them in advance. But also because of the way that they were doing their presentation, I think their set was probably the only one that actually needed to be rehearsed prior to the roast and not just winging it, because the rehearsal is for practice, but also it's almost like a final edit and a way for people to try out the jokes and see if they need to make any adjustments. And also it's almost like a last minute confirmation of who will actually be up there, which allows you to better prepare for whatever can come up. And once again, Tom's reaction or his explanation of the whole thing, it's so weird, and it's now getting old. His attitude is getting old because he did the same thing back when Bert Kreischer was complaining that he wasn't going to his movie premiere. And also there is a chance that because of Tom not being able to make it to the rehearsal, no one could really practice their jokes against him. Or maybe they took it as disrespect and just archived any Tom Segura jokes. At that point, if he really doesn't care about the whole roast, why not just let Bert Kreischer do it alone? Because unless Netflix didn't want Bert Kreischer alone and only them together, he probably would have been better off just going up there and following the script that someone else wrote for him and potentially avoided an embarrassing performance thanks to Tom Segura. And by the way, if you made it this far, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps out so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
We said that.
Bro,
we said
so
that.
hard to
when
wait.
Nikki was up, it goes Kevin, Jeff, Drew Bledsoe, who murdered, Nikki destroys, and Tom and I looked at each other and Tom goes, "We're going to bomb." And because our thing wasn't what everyone else was doing.
And people don't know that. They didn't know that we weren't asked to like roast traditionally. We were asked to do this different thing. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to be well received. Like the monitor.
I thought it was great because it's as you're watching it as a punter,
Yeah.
like in the audience, you go, yeah, it's at like a different speed.
Yeah.
And it's a very long show. So
Yeah.
actually doing something that's a different, and so you're watching the roasting for an hour and you go, well, everything's been hit on. We understand his wife has gone and he lost some money in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then you go, it's nice to have a little okay, there's another thing.
Like a little
that was
palate cleanser.
The great
thing.
line. It's really helped me understand my wife.
And obviously, Jimmy Carr was being extremely nice to both of them, because now that we know that Tom Segura was the one responsible for the whole thing, making any jokes or any comments, any negative comments about the performance would reflect poorly on Tom Segura. So simply saying that it was a good change of pace and something different, it was a nice way of saying that it wasn't good at all, which was what Pat McAfee also did on his show. He didn't say anything negative, but he said that it was a good break from the action, because once again, technically they didn't bomb, and at some point even got some good laughs, but compared to even some of the football players, they looked nervous and completely unprepared. And now that we know that Tom didn't go to the rehearsal, it makes so much sense why they had such a horrible performance. And on top of that, other comics did talk about how they were working out their stuff at clubs, on stage, but when it comes to Tom and Bert Kreischer, how can they possibly work out that material on stage? So, Tom Segura, being the brightest mind in the Rogan sphere, for some reason thought it was a good idea to do Netflix's first massive comedy roast by just winging it. However, now looking back, that is the exact same way that they have been approaching everything that they do. But at the very least, Bert Kreischer is actually able to take a joke and laugh at himself for how things went down.
I thought his whole bit, by the way, I was convinced. I was ashamed going, I tell you what's going to happen. He's going to do this bit about a guy talking shit online, and the guy's going to be Matt Damon, and he's going to be in the audience, and then they're going to do a bit together, because otherwise this would be insane.
Yeah.
And then he walked off, and I went, well, I was wrong about that.
Yeah. But that's more to my point, is that he was completely jumping off of that script, man. Like, he would get the gist of it, and then we were like reading it. We're like, why is he jumping off? And then it would go worse, and then he would just jump ahead to the next thing. So I don't know if it was nerves or the fact like we're so used to do it. Maybe also he passed on rehearsal and didn't want to come to that or something. But that's why.
I think he probably didn't want to come to rehearsal because he didn't want to be roasted.
Maybe.
So it's that thing. Did they tell you Kim Kardashian was going to be there?
I knew it because I went to rehearsal and I saw her face on a picture.
You rehearsed, because watching it, you wouldn't think that doesn't come across.
Can I tell you, I killed it in rehearsal. And then when we did our rehearsal that morning, I stumbled on a couple lines and I was like, mother, I've done this. I've hosted so many TV shows. I'm fine with prompter. But I was like, what the f-? And I realized when we started the bit that there were so many laughs in between that you didn't have to run through it, that you could take your time and say the sentence. And I was like, oh, when we got our first laugh, I went, okay, I have to wait for the laughter to end to say my next line.
Yeah, and it's a long laugh in that room as well, because it's a big room.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're used to big rooms, but it's a big room.
Yeah.
I did think, like, as an event, it was such a great thing to be.
When it comes to Tom Segura, he is so delusional and not able to take any criticism. And it's so funny and ironic that everything that Tom Segura is saying about Ben Affleck can pretty much also be said about Tom Segura. Besides the thing about not following the script, everything else is pretty much the same. They both had a bad performance. They didn't show up to the rehearsals, and it made everyone look at them differently. Because, for example, Jimmy Carr said that he thought that Ben Affleck was doing a bit and not being serious. And on the other hand, I thought that Tom Segura was doing a bit and acting like they were two students that were doing a horrible presentation. However, regardless of all the excuses, I think it did show that Tom Segura isn't really ready for that next level of producing and making stuff on, Netflix or Hollywood like he said he was, which is wild because, again, the way that Tom talks, you would think that he's like the Quentin Tarantino of comedy and making content. And what's also funny is that Bert Kreischer saying how Shane Gillis told them that he should have done the roast is basically proving that Shane Gillis also likely saw their performance and was like, oh man, I should have just done that if they did that bad and still got an applause. But Shane did mention on a recent episode that he's glad he didn't do the roast because of how nervous he would have been. And I think that is what happened with Tom and Bert Kreischer, being extremely nervous in front of all the celebrities.
Yeah, I've always resented the when people talk about like they're like this guy's on another level, and I'm like, no,
he's on the same level.
There's a level of proficiency that you get to, and then it's kind of like it becomes what your taste is. When they start talking about, like, I just feel like after a certain amount of time, there's a number of people that get to a very proficient level. And to me, I see everybody at that level as essentially the same. I kind of, you have your taste but I don't feel like that person is a genius at stand-up.
I think the genius thing's a bit overused as well.
It is.
On like that thing of like, you go, there's pure genius. There's, I don't know, Bach or von Neumann or something. And then there's hyper-accelerated rationality, which I think is what comics have a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. When we're on stage, I think the bit that works, sometimes you think of a joke, but then when you're on stage in front of people, your mind goes at a weird speed, and your subconscious just throws something out that you're like the little tag on the end of it that you go, oh, where did that come from?
Now, to be fair, there is a chance that maybe Two Bears, One Cave could be coming back. Like I mentioned, that last episode was funny and had a lot of interesting moments. And their last episode with Adam Ray or Dr. Phil did very well. A lot of people liked it. But the way that Tom Segura is in complete denial and not able to make fun of himself, it's not a good sign. And once again, technically they didn't bomb, but it's now clear why they look so nervous and so unprepared, and that's because they were. But I do think that it was Tom's fault at the end of the day. And, if you remember the whole 69 minutes thing, it kind of shows you that Tom isn't really the best at making things. He takes too many shortcuts and doesn't really go all in my opinion. And I wonder what the thing that Tom was working on will be, the thing with Netflix. Will it be a flop like Bert's movie, or if he will actually make it work? But let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video. But that is all we have for today. See ya.